One of the most stressful moments at the airport is arriving and realizing you either got there way too early to check your bags or you cut it so close that the airline won't take them at all. And the problem is that most travelers don't know there's actually a window of time during which the airline will accept your checked luggage. And if you miss either end of that window, you could be in a very difficult situation. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly how early you can check your bags, the cutoff times for the most common airlines, how programs like TSA Precheck, Global Entry, and Clear affect your timing, the timing difference between checking a bag versus traveling with just a carry-on, and how the rules change when you're traveling with children and baby gear. Let's go.
Dream vacations start here.
Now let's start with the most important thing to understand, which is that checking your bags at the airport is not something you can do at any time of day. Every airline operates in what's called a bag drop window, meaning there's both an earliest time the airline will accept your bags and a latest time after which they will no longer take them. On the early end, most major U.S. airlines will not accept checked bags more than 4 hours before your scheduled departure. United and Southwest Airlines follow a 4-hour maximum, and American Airlines also follows the 4-hour rule at most of their airports. JetBlue is actually one of the most generous airlines here. They will accept bags up to 6 hours before departure at most airports, though at Fort Lauderdale, that window drops to 4 hours. Now, if you arrive at the airport and the check-in counter isn't open yet, the best thing to do is check the departure boards for your flight, find a seat near your airline's check-in area, and simply wait. Most airline counters open 3 to 4 hours before the first scheduled departure of the day. If you're traveling very early in the morning, that counter may not be staffed yet, and in that case, there's generally nothing you can do but wait until it opens. Now, on the other end of the window, the cutoff, this is the one that actually causes travelers to miss flights. The bag drop cutoff is the absolute latest time the airline will accept your checked luggage before departure. For domestic flights, here's what you need to know. American Airlines requires bags to be checked in at least 45 minutes before departure. Delta Airlines requires a minimum of 45 minutes before departure at most domestic airports. United Airlines moved their cutoff to 45 minutes before departure for most U.S. flights, and Southwest Airlines also follows the 45-minute cutoff for most domestic routes. Now, for international flights, the cutoff times are longer. Delta requires bags to be checked in at least an hour before departure on international routes. Most airlines suggest arriving 3 hours before an international departure to allow enough time for check-in, bag drop, and getting through passport control and security. With that being said, I want to be very clear. These are the published minimum cutoff times. That does not mean you should aim to arrive exactly at the cutoff. That is the last possible moment the system will accept your bag. If there's a line at the counter, a technical issue, or any delay at all, you will miss it. Always build in extra time beyond the cutoff. Now, this is where a lot of travelers get confused, so I want to clear something up. TSA Precheck, Global Entry, and Clear do not change when the airline will accept your bags. The bag drop cutoff stays exactly the same regardless of what trusted traveler programs you are enrolled in. What these programs do change is how quickly you move through security after you drop your bags, and that is where the time savings actually come in. With TSA Precheck, you get access to a dedicated security lane where you do not have to remove your shoes, your belt, your jacket, or your laptop from your bag. In most airports, the Precheck lane moves significantly faster than the standard security line. On a busy travel day, that difference could easily be 20 to 30 minutes. Global Entry includes TSA Precheck as part of the program, and it adds expedited re-entry into the United States when returning from international travel. So if you travel internationally even once or twice a year, Global Entry gives you both benefits for a slightly higher enrollment fee. Clear is a separate program that uses your fingerprints or eye scan to verify your identity at the airport, which allows you to skip the ID verification line entirely and go straight to the TSA screening point. Clear works best when combined with TSA Precheck. With both, you bypass the ID check and then move through the expedited screening lane. That combination is the fastest path through security at any airport that has it. Now, what does this mean practically? If you have TSA Precheck or Clear plus Precheck, you can confidently arrive about 90 minutes before a domestic departure and have a reasonable amount of time to check your bags and clear security. Without any of these programs, I would strongly recommend arriving at least 2 hours for a domestic flight and 3 hours before any international departure. Now, let's say you arrive at the airport 5 or 6 hours before your flight and the airline simply will not take your bags yet. This happens more often than you think, especially if you're catching an early morning connection or if someone dropped you off well in advance. The first thing I would recommend is checking whether your airport has a luggage storage service. Many larger airports now have dedicated bag storage areas, sometimes operated by third-party companies, where you can securely store your bags for a few hours for a small fee. usually somewhere between $5 to $15 per bag. This frees you up to grab a meal, explore the terminal, or simply sit comfortably without managing large bags. If luggage storage isn't available, the next best option is to check whether the airline counter is already open and simply ask. In some cases, especially at less busy airports, the airline staff may have flexibility to accept your bags a little earlier than the standard window. It never hurts to ask politely. And if none of those options work, the waiting area near the check-in counter is your best bet. Keep your bags with you, stay near the counter, and check the departures board periodically so you know when the staff begins to process your flight. Now, one of the most practical decisions you can make before any trip is whether to check a bag at all, because traveling with just a carry-on and a personal item completely changes your airport timing. If you're only traveling with a carry-on and a personal item, you can check in online within 24 hours of departure, go straight to the security checkpoint when you arrive, and skip the bag drop line entirely. On a domestic flight, that means you could realistically arrive 60 to 75 minutes before departure and still make your flight comfortably, especially if you have TSA Precheck. If you are checking a bag, you need to factor in the time to reach the check-in counter, wait in the bag drop line, and then still get through security. On a busy day, holidays, summer travel, spring break, that bag drop line alone can add 20 to 40 minutes to your airport experience. With that being said, if packing light is not realistic for your trip, the best way to save time at the counter is to check in online in advance and prepay for your bags before you even get to the airport. This allows you to quickly print your bag tags at the airline kiosk at the airport rather than using the full check-in line, which is almost always a longer line. Now, if you're traveling with young children, there is very good news when it comes to checked bags, and I've actually done some of the research for you on this. On virtually every major U.S. airline, a stroller and a car seat can be checked for free and do not count towards your standard bag allowance. You can either check these items at the ticket counter when you drop off your other bags, or you can bring them all the way to the gate and have them gate checked for free, meaning they go in the cargo hold right before you board and are returned to you on the jet bridge the moment you land. Most families prefer the gate check option because it allows you to keep the stroller in use throughout the entire airport. Now, when it comes to timing, traveling with a stroller and car seat does add a few minutes to your bag drop process. You'll need to tag each item at the counter, and the agent will need to process the gate check bag separately. I would recommend adding an extra 10 to 15 minutes to your airport arrival time anytime you're traveling with baby gear, just to make sure the check-in process doesn't feel rushed. As for diaper bags, I covered this in detail in a previous video, but the short version is that just about all the major airlines allow a diaper bag as a completely free additional item that does not count towards your bag limit. Delta and Southwest, however, count a diaper bag as part of your standard carry-on allowance unless you paid for a seat for your child, in which case they have their own baggage allowance. So it is worth checking the specific policy for the airline you'll be flying on before you pack. Now let me bring this all together with a few practical timing tips you can use on your next trip. First, always check your airline's specific bag drop cutoff time before you travel. The 45 domestic cutoff is the most common, but individual airports and routes can vary, and the airline's website will always have the most accurate information. Second, if you're checking bags on a major travel day like Thanksgiving, the 4th of July, or any holiday weekend, add at least 30 extra minutes to whatever arrival time you would normally plan for. Bag drop lines on those days are significantly longer than normal. Third, use online check-in and prepay for your bags as soon as the 24-hour window opens. This puts you in the shorter bag drop line instead of the full check-in line. And it often saves you money since bag fees are sometimes lower when paid online versus at the airport. And fourth, if you're on the fence about whether to check a bag or take a carry-on, consider your airport and your travel day. A large hub airport on a Friday afternoon is a very different experience than a small regional airport on a Tuesday morning. Knowing your airport can be just as important as knowing the airline's rules. Now, if you have any questions about bag check timing or the rules for your specific airline, feel free to post those down in the comment section, and I'll do my best to help you out. And if you want to know more about the different luggage types you can bring, including strollers and diaper bags, check out this video next. Thank you so much for watching this one, and I wish you safe travels.